Good day, everyone. Well, this is Carpo here to do a video about racism. It's a subject I haven't covered very much, and it's because I've just thrown my arms up and like, what do we do? But I was inspired last night. I watched a movie called Selma. It just came out. I guess it's not out yet, but it was about a situation in Selma, Alabama, back in I think '64. It was during the Civil Rights Movement, and it had, Martin Luther King in it, but it wasn't about the death of him. It was just about a part or a component of when he finally got these bills signed by the president, who was reluctant to do so, Lyndon Johnson at the time, who basically refused to budge on civil rights issues because he felt that he had too many other issues to deal with, and he saw that as small potatoes in the big picture, while Martin would actually go and talk with the president and ask him to allow voting, and he would say, well, voting is already legal, and they say, no, but we need to enforce the rights of blacks to be able to vote in America, because if you went to the voting booth, they would just deny you. There's nothing you could do about it. Local communities, local state and federal, or state and county laws, city laws, they always supersede federal. Whether federal should supersede or not, it doesn't matter, because federal and government won't get involved in these small potatoes things to them. So it's up to us as the people to speak out when we see racism. And racism makes me sick. And I might use bad language here, so be warned, but all of the Southerners who during that time, claimed to be so religious on one hand, yet they would carry signs and talk about how, these people are polluting us, that blacks are disgusting, and that they're creating communism, and segregation was finally abolished, right? No, of course not. In 2009, they started trying to bring it back, and they're still trying to bring it back into schools in Alabama and various other places. I think it's Alabama, and it's sickening to me. These racist fucks. I cannot stand these people. I have a degree of tolerance for people who perhaps oppose a person's religion. See, this is where I'm coming from here, is that I see a lot of people talking out there about how people shouldn't believe this, or they shouldn't think this, or this is wrong and that is right. And we're attacking each other's personal ideas and beliefs. Yet we're not attacking people who are attacking others for how they look, or what culture or race they're from. The xenophobia at its fullest. And we could go back to the details about, a country was built by slaves. None of that really matters. What matters now is here we are, our ancestors fucked up, we're still fucking up, and it makes me sick. It makes me angry inside. And when I hear people saying things like Obama's a nigger, over and over, trying to get people riled up, say, you're a fucking douchebag. You're a piece of shit, and you don't even belong on this fucking planet. Because I just scoff and laugh at the people when they, there are so many people who are so angry that we have a black president. Even the ones who may hold it in. There's so many people, so many racists in this country who are so angry that Obama's president, that they've created this whole realm of bullshit stories about him. Everything from whether he was born in this country to you name it. It doesn't matter. The healthcare issue. Everybody thinks Obama's out to help the black man, and but not the white man. And then other people are saying, oh, well, he's just too white and he really doesn't care about the black people. It's all about color. The color of someone's skin. We've stopped looking within to see what a person should be, a person as a human, a person with a consciousness, a person with an awareness, a person who is like you and I, who can sit and talk and have a conversation. To spit at that person and tell them that they're a lesser being merely for being the color they are is disgusting. And there was a time when I could look back and I would say, well, our parents just didn't know any better. But I don't any longer use that excuse, hold that excuse for my fellow man. I don't care what generation you were born in. I don't care what the people around you say. If you're dumb enough to believe what your community tells you about another human, without deriving your own conclusions from your own experiences, you're an idiot. But there is one major component to this, is that races are different, and we have different cultural interests, and that's to be embraced. It's not about homogenizing everybody and putting everybody into black and white, black and white. It's not like that. 1 second. Yeah. It's about, it's not about putting everybody together in this big box and saying, you know, everybody has to live together happily. That's not what it's about. Our brains have a natural tendency to separate ourselves by race, by even the color of our hair, or how tall we are, or what color eyes we have. You know, we separate ourselves along groups, and that's okay, just so long as we're not telling other groups that they're inferior or wrong. And the fact that they're trying to resegregate schools in the South, just, to me, is just fucking ludicrous. It's ludicrous. And so, well, the people on the coastlines, such as myself, you know, West Coast, East Coast, the fact is, if you look at the statistics, people who live near the coast are more educated. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that in order to put people down. I'm saying that as a fact, that people who live near the coast in the U.S. tend to be more educated. They tend to have more progressive moving forward, because we've learned how to live with each other, where in the South they're able to hang on to their ideas. And I'm not insulting everybody from the South, because I know there are plenty of people who live in Alabama. One of them might be watching this saying, hey, I'm not like that. And I'm glad. That's good that there are people that are not like that. Because if everyone was like that, you might as well just firebomb the place. Not really, but if you really look at the way that blacks have been treated, it's disgusting, and it sickens me to think that humans today can still use that excuse of our ancestors when we're still doing it today. In other words, racism hasn't gone away, we just disguised it under a new guise. And then this morning, right when I was getting ready to make this video just now, I actually I looked on Facebook, which I don't do very often, but lately I got back on there, and the reason why is because of shit like this. I saw one of my, a guy I used to work with, he had posted a thing about immigration, and he said, look, I'm not opposed to immigration, but you should read this. And it was this whole list of how Joe makes this much money, and Jose makes this much money. However, after Joe's paid for his, you know, paid his taxes and gasoline, and after Jose gets his welfare, the Mexican ends up making more money than the white guy. And this is like, this is utter bullshit. It's a way of taking one little statistic of a situation and saying, look, the Mexicans are taking advantage. And they had a picture in there of a bunch of immigrants on a train riding in, and the comments in there were like, oh, firebomb it, oh, napalm that thing, oh, we could just finish the problem right there. You know, you people, fuck you. Fuck you. I'm sorry to say it that way, but you're fucking idiots. You're fucking idiots. You don't solve the problem by killing people. It's never been a solution to anything. Ever. And it never will be. It's just like when you say, oh, we could kill the head of this terrorist group. What happens? Another one pops up in his place, twice as pissed off. So, what do you think happens when you tell a kid not to do something? He's going to want to do it more. Adults are the same way, and we never change. So if you're oppressing a race, they're going to want to get revenge, they're going to want to get it back, and then the blacks, when they start stepping up, they get angry, and then the whites can say, oh, look, they're all angry, and they're mad, and they don't know how to handle themselves. It's because they have no other way, no other recourse, you know? Nobody listens. And I feel for the blacks down in the South who still have to deal with this bullshit, that there are still ignorant fucks down there who beat people up for the color of their skin, or kill them. Immigration is not the problem. Yeah, I pointed out to this guy that, you know, I said, hey, you may think that Jose makes more, but Joe Blow, who's making less, ends up taking out a bunch of credit card loans. He gets a house that's too big. He buys a car that's too fucking nice. And the next thing you know, he files bankruptcy. So who's really costing the nation money? Is it really the immigrants? I guess what makes me angry is that the people on top want you to think that immigration is the problem. The people who really make the decisions and really have the money want you to think that blacks are scary. Just like they wanted you to think that pot was like reefer madness. Look at reefer madness. Do you think people look at that as a joke? They show it in school as a joke now. I watched it in high school, and I'm thinking this was actually showed to people back then as real evidence. Look, it makes you crazy. It makes blacks crazy, and they start playing jazz and going nuts and beating people up. And it was all bullshit. So why are we to believe that any of the bullshit that they're talking about now about other races is true? It's just another way for people to hoard their way of life and to keep their selfish lives from being invaded by anybody else who may take away from their comfort zone. So racism is a hot button issue for me. I think that racists are fucking idiots. But before I go, I'd also like to say that I understand the situation of a person who grew up in a black community, a white guy who maybe grew up with a lot of blacks around him, was always teased, was maybe beaten up by some black people in the neighborhood, and he grows up with a racial prejudice towards blacks because of that. I can understand how that works. But I can't understand the ones who have had no contact with blacks, the people who don't even know anyone who's black, who are racist, who are believing what their fellow man tells them. And you sick bastards down there in Alabama and various other states, Georgia, I mean, the people who are running your state are sick fucks, and they need to be stopped. And so I guess I'm urging people to speak up on these issues because racism is an important issue, one that needs to be dealt with. So, peace.